One of the most important pieces of your backpacking gear could not even be in your backpack. And I'm not talking about your shoes. Find out today on ZeroDay. Hey everyone, welcome back to ZeroDay, and thanks for tuning in here to the Idle Hands Network. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most important things in your backpacking gear, something that is integral to my entire system, and something that you may not even think is necessary. Today we're going to be talking about trekking poles. Trekking poles are going to make you hike faster. They're going to reduce shock on your knees. They're going to make you be able to go longer, and they're going to make it so that you can wear a lighter shoe. The importance of that last part is very, very big, because 1 pound on your foot is equal to 5 pounds in your back. So if you were to reduce your foot, your weight of your shoe, by a matter of 2 pounds, you're removing what feels like 10 pounds out of your pack. That's very easy to do when you add 2 extra legs. So you got 2 extra legs when you add trekking poles. Today we're going to go over all the advantages of the trekking pole. We're going to go over the proper use of the trekking pole, and we're going to go over the anatomy of a trekking pole, starting with the anatomy first, because those are going to be the big decisions for you, and they're going to explain why trekking poles are more expensive and whatnot than other ones that you see. This is something that is highly recommended from me to you. Doctors recommend trekking poles to older patients who are trying to get back out there and still keep active when they lose balance, when they have bad joints, things of that nature. So those are all things that a lot of older people need them for. But even young people, if you want to go lighter, if you want to go faster, if you want to save weight on your feet, you can go to a trekking pole and you can add a lot of extra speed and miles to your day in no time flat. So first, the anatomy of a trekking pole. The anatomy of a trekking pole starts with the grip. The grip is relatively important in a matter of a few ways. How it feels in your hand, how heavy it is, how cost effective it is. So starting with materials that they use, everything is going to be moderately ergonomically gripped. You can see here hands fit on here very nicely. They're designed to be comfortable, but they're also designed to breathe. You can see there are some holes, you might be able to see, but there are some ridges in here, and then those ridges have holes in here so that you can see through them. So it breathes underneath your hand. You're going to have 4 major things that they can be made of. First one is going to be foam. Foam is going to be lightweight. It's going to be cost effective. It's going to be warm to the touch, which is one of its downfalls. But it is going to be comfortable. It's not going to breathe very well, but it's going to be super lightweight and cost effective. The counterpart to foam for lightweight is going to be cork. Real cork. Cork is going to be cooler to the touch. It's going to be much more expensive. It's a natural material as opposed to the foam. The things that you'll notice difference between the two, I don't have a real foam or a real cork one to show you. I do use one with foam, and then I do have one with our next material that we're going to be talking about. But if this one is foam because it's lightweight, it's cost effective, and it's going to be comfortable and soft to the touch, which is all things that you're going to have with cork minus the cost effective. Cork is the most expensive material that we're going to be talking about today. Eventually, over time, sweat is very corrosive, so your hands being sweaty will wear out this material just like they will wear out cork, they will wear out rubber, they will wear out synthetic cork. All of those items will get worn out. Synthetic or like foam like this will kind of give you kind of a slimy feel, like a really cheap handlebar grip on a bicycle, and kind of like get slimy and kind of flake off like pieces. Cork is going to more chip and flake off as opposed to that, and can be still comfortable even after it starts doing that, as opposed to just kind of getting slimy. But foam, lightweight, these are, as far as breaking down, very far down the pipe. We're not talking like tomorrow. We're talking about years and years. I have over 500 miles on a particular pair of trekking poles that has barely, doesn't even look like the hand grip has been used. But you have foam, you have cork, which we've already discussed as well. Most expensive of all the options for you, lightweight, cool to the touch, natural, but still going to be very expensive. So when you see a difference in prices, you're going to see cork always more expensive than your other options. Your third option is going to be a synthetic cork. Has many of the same attributes of cork, but since it is made of a synthetic material, it is heavier. So the weight of a synthetic cork is going to be a downfall. So if you're trying to save ounces everywhere you can, synthetic cork, while having the cost effectiveness of foam and the cooling effects of cork, doesn't save weight like it does. So it's heavier. It's very similar to a rubberized handle, which is our next one, rubber, being the most inexpensive and cheap handles. They don't breathe well. They feel hot to the touch because they absorb your heat just like the foam does. So on a hot summer day when you're hiking, you set it down, it's still going to feel warm when you pick it up, as opposed to cork and synthetic cork. So those are the big differences in the handle grips. All of them have their advantages. All of them have their disadvantages. Some disadvantages outweigh others depending on what you are willing to do. Your second material, or your second component that you're going to be looking at, is going to be the actual composite material of the pole. So this one here is aluminum. So this is an aluminum pole. Aluminum is moderately lightweight. It is going to be the heavier of the materials. It's going to be very sturdy, and it's going to be fixable. If you do end up ever having a bend or something, you can kind of bend it back, but it's still going to be durable, and it's not going to break as easily. You'll also have the option of going with carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is going to be much lighter weight. You're going to have a much more flexible pole, which is going to reduce the need for shocks on an aluminum pole. So being a sturdier material, it is very non-flexy. It's very hard. Where carbon fiber, if extended, can actually bend a little bit, flex, which is going to reduce the amount of shock that your wrists receive. But they did add shock absorbers to aluminum poles at one point in time. Some of them still do. There is a Black Diamond pair out there that makes them. But the shock absorbers are mostly going to be in our third component type, which is going to be how they lock. So these here are a lock, or a twist lock, which means that you have to twist them and then pull them out and then twist them back in order to screw them in. Once they are screwed in, they are set. This particular one has a shock in it, so you'll be able to see that my hand can go up and down in it. Some of them have that, some of them don't. If they have a shock absorber, it's going to take a little bit of the strain off your wrist and your elbow and shoulders. So some of the other components, one of the other component type, the Clasp Lock, where it kind of vices around it, twist and pull. No twisting involved, but you pull and it loosens, snap it closed. So those types of locks there, they don't have the ability to have shock absorbers because they're using tension here as opposed to putting the tension up in here where the shock absorber can be actually hidden inside here. With a carbon fiber pull, you actually get a little flex in your pull, so it's something that isn't as necessary. But aluminum pulls, they lose that and are very rigid. They don't have the advantage of having that little bit of flex. So let's see if I just extend it a little bit. We can see a little bit of bend in here. Yeah, so you can see possibly more on this side. There's a little bit of flex that you can put in these. So that's the clips. The nice thing about the clips is they are field maintainable. So there is a screw here. So if it needs to get tightened or loosened, you can do that in the field with something as simple as a small multi-tool, or even a dime technically could fit in there. Whereas these are not field maintainable. If you pull these beyond the extend to here mark, there's a possibility of removing them from the tread. When you remove them from the tread, you get to the point of not being able to get back in. So there's actually a stop here marker. Stop mark. So you can't go above this mark. If you go above that mark, it's not going to, you have the ability to break the pole to the point of where you have to take it to a shop to fix it. And if you're in the woods with 100 miles till your next destination, you may not be able to get there. Another thing that could happen is that tread can wear out. There can get dirt and stuff up in there. When that gets up in there, the tread that you continually push up and down can wear out, and you'll lose friction. You'll have to tighten it regularly. Now, granted, I use these poles on my Appalachian Trail hike, and I did not start with poles, but I picked them up in Franklin, North Carolina. Probably used them for about 400 or 500 miles, and I never had an issue with having to tighten them at all. But for the most part, they are much heavier than the ones that I currently use, which are the carbon fiber power locks from REI, as opposed to my Lecky Makalu Summit anti-shock. So the advantages of the trekking pole in general is going to be reducing shock off your knees by 25 to 35%, which is going to give you a heck of a better feel. When I first started backpacking on the Appalachian Trail, the thing that killed me the most was my knees at the end of the day. When, after going down over and over and over with a really heavy pack when I started, my knees would just lock up after I continued to, or after I sat down and just sat there for a minute. So after dinner, I was pretty much stuck there for about 20 minutes before my knees would release. And it's probably the most unpleasant part of my day, but it was just something that I got used to for the first couple weeks, and then I picked up a stick to start, to just to use that, and that helped a lot. And then when I got to Franklin, North Carolina, the Lecky rep was there at the Hiker Festival, and they were pretty much just selling there at a Hiker Festival, and they showed me how to use it, because when I tried them before, I didn't use them properly, and I didn't like them, which is why I didn't bring them with me, and showed me the proper way of using them, and then showed me the advantages of them, and I started using them and made a world of difference. My knees never hurt again. And I was moving faster and I was moving longer days, so much easier. So another aspect that they do is, since they're taking so much shock off your knees, they're giving you a lot more stability in your basic leg area, so your ankles are a lot more supported. I personally don't have too weak of ankles, but my wife has very bad tendonitis chronic tendonitis in her ankles, so she has pretty much the need for a mid-weight ankle, just to give her a little bit of support. But when she uses trekking poles, she does not roll her ankle as often as when she doesn't use them. And then the other advantages of it being, you can go from a heavy-duty hiker down to a lightweight hiker, or if you're in a lightweight hiker, you can go down to a trail runner, or even just like just a regular tennis shoe, something like that. I would suggest something lighter weight or heavier duty than just tennis shoe. But trail runners are something that people use because they have the ability to still get the grip, but they're lighter weight. And as I mentioned before, 1 pound on your foot is worth 5 in your pack. So keep your weight down on your feet as possible. Second thing, or one of the other things that trekking poles do, is they add a pole to your pack gear setup so that you can set up a tarp instead of carrying a tent, or you can get tents that use trekking poles as the pole, so you can cut weight out by not carrying a secondary pole just because you have the trekking pole. So when I go above tree line and I need to set up my sleep system, or if I'm not going to be in an area where there's good trees for hammocking, something like that, I can set up my tarp really easily just by using my pole extended and guying it out. So that's really another advantage of using trekking poles. Multi-use makes more sense to put in your pack. Saves weight in the long run because you don't have to carry poles for your tent because you got them on your hands already. So these are something that really changed my life as far as how to hike when I was hiking. And now I'm going to go over the proper use of using them, because a lot of people don't know how to, and when they put it on, they just use it. They think the strap is there for just securing it on there, but it's actually very used. So if you have used a cross-country ski pole, remember that it is very similar to that. So just go through the bottom of the pole, of the strap, and then as you wrap your hand around, you're going to actually grab onto the strap. When you grab onto the strap, you're going to be putting the weight on the strap so that you can make sure that your hand and your wrist is not receiving all the shock that your knee is losing. Because when you go like this and you have a wrist like this, it's a lot less comfortable than a wrist like this. So if you're using this, you can see this doesn't matter which way it goes. I'm always putting my weight on the strap, which is locked in here. Doesn't matter how far, I have a strong wrist, so that this doesn't happen, because bending your wrist and putting all that strain on your wrist, very uncomfortable. So we'll go from this side as well. So grab, and then no matter which way the pole is, doesn't matter. My wrist is strong and I have a good grasp. No matter which angle I'm going down, doesn't matter. If it's a really steep downhill, or if I'm going uphill, doesn't matter, I always have firm grip here. So yeah, that's the difference in the strap. So you don't just put your hand through it like this. Don't just put your hand through it like that. You actually use the strap. Go up through the bottom, grabbing the strap, and then not putting a lot of pressure on this front part here. So this isn't necessary because you have all of that pressure on the strap. Because one of the things that I say, find a comfortable strap, because the more comfortable the strap, the more comfortable the pull is. So the strap is another part that you might want to keep in consideration when you're looking at trekking poles. So, very important piece of my gear, because I use a tarp. I do not use a tent. So when I set up my tarp, even with my hammock, I'll use a trekking pole to make more of an awning. So I'll put the trekking pole out so that instead of coming straight down like that, it can go out like this. And if the rain's coming down from this side, I can look out into the woods over here and be covered over here. This is just something else that I can do as opposed to just keeping like a simple A-frame. And then when I don't use my hammock, I can set up my tarp in many different fashions using my trekking poles. Can make a simple A-frame like that with both one on each end, or I can set it up in a pyramid style with a tall one in the middle, staking it out in many different places to create almost an enclosed shelter with a trekking pole. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, quandaries, conundrums, or queries about trekking poles or backpacking in general, I will gladly answer any of those if you put them down in the comment section. I hope this was helpful. Trekking poles can range in many different prices, so just keep that in mind. If you want to try them out, you can go to a Walmart, pick up a pair for probably $15-20 bucks. Or you can go to REI or any other outdoor place that does backpacking. They can give you a good once-over on the advantages of each and every pole. As long as it's not too busy, they can probably spend about 20 minutes talking to you about trekking poles, much like I did. And you can find out even more information. Trekking poles definitely will change your life in the woods. So yeah. Hopefully this was helpful. If it wasn't, I apologize for wasting your time. But, hey, just remember, idle hands aren't doing anything. So get out there, get those hands doing some stuff, and then we will see you later.